Ron, thank you for being here, everybody. Now to CBS.
This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. Another American has been taken hostage in Lebanon. Gunmen in the violent southern part of the country today ambushed and kidnapped a U.S. Marine officer. Lieutenant Colonel William Higgins was the leader of a UN observer team. He became the 9th American hostage currently held in Lebanon. No group claimed responsibility. Our report begins with CBS News Pentagon correspondent David Martin.
Lieutenant Colonel Higgins, a Marine officer assigned to the UN peacekeeping force in Lebanon, was driving south along the coast in a convoy much like this one when suddenly he vanished.
The two vehicles became separated. I'm not quite sure how, possibly because of heavy traffic. And Colonel Higgins was snatched from his vehicle.
Higgins' car was found, empty with no sign of violence. Everyone assumes he was kidnapped, but nobody knows who did it.
We're still investigating, trying to learn more about it.
Earlier this month, 2 other UN soldiers, a Swede and a Norwegian, disappeared in southern Lebanon, and no one yet knows who kidnapped them or why. Lebanon has become so dangerous to Americans that the State Department issued a ban on travel there. But still, 16 American military men are assigned to this UN headquarters in southern Lebanon.
Has there ever been any question about Americans participating, and so because it might be dangerous?
These people are not under our operational control at all. They're assigned to this UN force.
Well, I'm exasperated by the idea that we would have an official American presence that was so vulnerable that a hostage could be taken.
Higgins' job was to referee disputes between the various militias in southern Lebanon, a demanding job.
Somebody with very steady nerves, somebody who doesn't get excited in the midst of a lot of very excitable people, somebody who really sees the point of the job he's doing as a matter of maintaining peace, which is a very difficult thing to do in that area.
Higgins was a Vietnam veteran and, his friends say, all Marine. His wife, Robin, is also a Marine, a major assigned to the Pentagon.
A call came in from the State Department indicating that a Marine lieutenant colonel in Lebanon was missing. And she knew that at that point, without really being told, it was Lieutenant Colonel Higgins.
Until some basic questions about what happened can be answered, administration sources say the remaining Americans assigned to the UN force in southern Lebanon will not go out on patrol. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
Lieutenant Colonel Higgins has a unique position. As commander of the UN Observer Group, he's the only American serviceman authorized to travel freely in southern Lebanon. The few other American members of the small multinational group remain inside their observation posts. Higgins' only concession to the unique risks he takes is to paint out the American flag on his uniform. Like the other observers, he carries no arms. His job is to report the clashes that routinely occur on the border with Israel.
Frankly, we returned to the ADL. We had at Echo 1-1 2 days ago. 3 terrorists that were killed, 2 Israelis that were killed in an incursion. Have you noticed any increase in activity?
These pictures were taken 12 days ago by a Norwegian television team whose correspondent spoke with us tonight.
I was with him without an armed car, and he had no weapons. We were traveling around in the southern part of Lebanon. He was aware of the risks. He said, we can be kidnapped, we can be shot at, we can be robbed, but this is a part of our daily life.
Higgins kept a high profile. He often drove alone. The area in which he traveled is overrun by armed gangs of so-called militiamen. As a neutral observer, Higgins made a point of keeping in contact with all of them, but one group attracted his special interest.
He was very aware of the pro-Iranian Hezbollah, the Party of God, that they were increasing their activities in the area of operation, and he was very eager to find out how strong they were.
In addition to Higgins' small observer group, an armed and much larger UN force known as UNIFIL has been trying to keep the peace in Lebanon since 1978. Higgins suspected that some of the Iranian troops who served with that force before the Shah was overthrown may have come back to Lebanon to recruit and arm the Hezbollah. Tom Fenton, CBS News, London.
The 8 other American hostages in Lebanon are Terry Anderson, Thomas Sutherland, Frank Herbert Reed, Joseph James Sicipio, Edward Tracy, Jesse Turner, Robert Polhill, and Alan Steen. Israeli soldiers opened fire in the occupied West Bank again today, killing 1 Palestinian and wounding 4. The Arab death toll in the uprising is now 55. Correspondent Bob Simon is on the West Bank.
An obscure hilltop village was placed indelibly on the map today. It happened when Israeli soldiers killed a young man, shooting him through the heart, and hospitalized several others with gunshot wounds. Soldiers blocked off the roads, but not well enough to prevent CBS News from witnessing an entire village rising up in anger. The instant radicalization of 7,000 people, farmers and their families, in a place no one 50 miles away had ever heard of because nothing had ever happened here before, ever. One more village, now part of a campaign, which the Israelis still find difficult to define and impossible to defeat.
It is not clear-cut. It's not tanks coming across the Syrian border. It's not PLO missiles coming over a border. It's an amorphous, incomprehensible thing that nobody can really touch and understand.
Amorphous in military terms, perhaps, but this incomprehensible thing is people with makeshift homemade flags, as recognizable and as stirring here as the Stars and Stripes. And while the arrival of Secretary Schultz in less than 2 weeks is an obsessive topic in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, here on the West Bank in these remote and rugged little villages, George Shultz and the American plan are viewed as largely irrelevant. 20 years of peace plans and American diplomacy have inspired people here with a clear message for the Secretary of State.
Tell him, let our people go also. Leave us alone. We don't want him here.
Schultz will find Israel's prime minister opposed to the American concept of land for peace, of territorial compromise. He'll find the Palestinians caught up in what they believe is a victorious uprising, opposed to any compromise at all. Bob Simon, CBS News, on the West Bank.
The U.S. Embassy in Moscow had to call for Soviet aid today to put out a fire. The blaze broke out one floor below the sensitive areas that hold secret communications equipment. Residents were unable to control it and sent out the alarm for Soviet firefighters, who responded promptly. They went into the building under close escort of U.S. employees and Marine guards. The new U.S. Embassy building, a block away, is still empty because it was found to be riddled with listening devices installed by the Russians during construction. Still to come on the CBS Evening News, the why of the New Hampshire primary results and a look south. Correspondent John Blackstone on a lovelorn killer in a high-tech world. And Jerry Bowen on high hopes on a slippery slope.
Total oatmeal?
It's new. Well, we like old-fashioned Quaker oats, right, George?
Mm-hmm.
Mother, Total Oatmeal has 100% of the daily allowance of vitamin A.
We've been getting that all along.
No, we haven't.
100% of C.
Been getting that all along.
No, we haven't.
100% of 9 vitamins and iron.
No, we didn't. Haven't.
Total Oatmeal has 10 times the vitamin nutrition of old-fashioned Quaker oats. Good work. Total Oatmeal, the vitamin nutrition you thought you were getting all along.
You grip the stick and hiss across the ice while frigid winds blast you full in the face. The sport is ice boating, and at speeds up to 60 miles an hour and temperatures down to 30 below. You don't take chances. You take Chapstick. Chapstick is heavy-duty lip balm, made for weather at its worst, made to go on smooth, to help lips stop chapping and start healing. Why trust your lips to anything less? Don't take chances. Take Chapstick.
When constipation plus hemorrhoids twists you in knots, try Haley's MO, the laxative made with Phillips Milk of Magnesia, plus mineral oil, so it lubricates for easier relief. Haley's MO, the laxative for hemorrhoid sufferers.
Rich stain and tough polyurethane protection in one. Polyshade by Minwax. Get a beautiful finish in half the time. A finish to be proud of. Polyshades by Minwax.
The signpost ahead reads south to Super Tuesday. All signs point to an intense Bush-Dole battle. George Bush came out of New Hampshire today, buoyed by his solid win there. Number 2, Bob Dole, today blasted Bush for, quote, assassinating his record in negative campaign attack ads. Last night's New Hampshire pecking order of finish included a tight second tier of the 3 runners on the Republican right. All told, primary 1 in New Hampshire left most of the presidential candidates, those not mortally wounded, trying to position themselves for Super Tuesday, a 3-week campaign, 20-state scramble for hundreds of delegates in the supercluster of caucuses and primaries March 8th, mostly in the South. Our chief Washington correspondent Bob Schieffer begins our coverage tonight of the build-up to Super Tuesday and the building Bush-Dole tension.
The way Bob Dole told it today, George Bush won New Hampshire by distorting the Dole record, and he's hot about it.
I think you're seeing a mean George Bush. You know, I think you ought to just take a look at some of the things they've been doing and saying. We're going to go out and try to straighten it out. I mean, I'm not going to run from it. I'm not known to run from a fight.
Bush wouldn't respond to that, but served notice he is ready for the next round.
I wished him well and told him I'd meet him in the South, and we'll be there, ready.
Huddling on the plane back to Washington, Dole and his top advisors concluded they had let the election slip away from them over the weekend.
We had a remarkable surge, and sort of the air went out of it on Monday and Tuesday.
In hindsight, Dole believes he should not have let this Bush ad go unanswered in the campaign's closing days.
Bob Dole straddled, and he just won't promise not to raise taxes.
In the strategist's view, that ad, coupled with this incident when Pete DuPont challenged Dole to sign a no-tax pledge at a weekend debate, left the impression Dole favored a tax hike.
Sign it.
So from now on, the Dole people say they'll respond in kind to all criticism.
We don't have to wallow in the mud with them to answer their charges. We simply have to say, when they're wrong, we're going to point it out.
Dole hopes to bounce back with wins next week in Minnesota and South Dakota, where he has invested considerable time and money. But Jack Kemp is trying to get the jump on him there and flew to Minneapolis today. And Pat Robertson headed south, predicting he'll beat Dole and Bush in the South Carolina primary. Whether or not that prediction proves correct, there's every indication now that unless some new issue takes off, the race between the Republican frontrunners is about to turn mean, really mean. Bob Schieffer, CBS News, Washington.
Among Democrats, Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis heads out from his big win in New Hampshire, now trying to prove he can make it outside his own backyard. Number 2, Richard Gephardt, stays alive for the move south. Third place, Paul Simon admits he has to prove he can win anywhere and soon. Among those further back in the pack, Bruce Babbitt is waffling about whether he'll be out by tomorrow. Our chief political correspondent, Bruce Morton, is watching the Democrats begin phase 2 of the campaign.
The Democrats went south and west today with a lot of unfinished business.
I don't have a southern strategy. I don't have a northern strategy. I don't have a western strategy. We have an American strategy. That's what we have in this campaign.
But his problem is that so far he has won only in New England. And while he may have a national strategy, he has not so far unveiled a national message mainstream Democrats respond to.
I always thought that we could make it through January and February. You go south and march on. Thank you very much.
Reverend Jackson is campaigning in the South as a son of the South, but his message is on the left end of the Democratic spectrum, and a lot of people still don't think he can win.
We did great. The people listened. The people of New Hampshire want change. It's their fight, too.
Of all the candidates, Gephardt may have come closest to finding a national theme, though it is as simple as the single word change. And in the South, Albert Gore served notice today that Gephardt's own changes on issues would be an issue.
He left carrying a lot of political baggage in the form of all the positions that he changed, and there weren't just one or two. There was a long, long list.
They survive. Paul Simon may not. He's skipping a Texas debate tomorrow to concentrate on fundraising and says he has to win either Minnesota or South Dakota next week to stay alive.
If I can't break through in either Minnesota or South Dakota, we're not going to raise the money that is necessary to wage a successful campaign for the nomination. That's the reality.
The early contests usually narrow the field, and they did that this time. Sometimes, as with Jimmy Carter in 1976 or Gary Hart 4 years ago, they give one candidate a lot of momentum. That didn't happen this time. Each of the survivors leaves here with strengths and problems. Bruce Babbitt will decide tomorrow whether he goes on. His mood, he said today, swinging between yes and no.
This morning, I guess I'm kind of right in the middle. My mood this morning is plaid.
All over town, they're closing offices, boxing files. Some will go on, some will pack up. No one leaves here with any kind of commanding lead. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Manchester.
Though Pat Robertson, for all practical purposes, finished last in New Hampshire, he is far from finished as a candidate, certainly as he sees it. Not with the campaign turning south to zones of strength for him. Robertson is hoping to position himself now with good showings in Minnesota, South Carolina, and possibly Maine. These races come before Super Tuesday, where the Robertson factor could put a crimp in the best-laid plans of his rivals, including George Bush. Bill Whitaker is tracking the Robertson push.
Pat Robertson turned his back on cold New Hampshire and flew to a warm reception in South Carolina, where he hopes to regain his footing in the crucial state Republican primary a little more than 2 weeks away.
But I told them when they come down to the South, they're playing in my backyard, and I'm going to win down here.
George Bush Jr. was in the state last night, leading his father's rejuvenated charge south.
Pat Robertson laid the gauntlet down. This is where he said he's going to whip George Bush. And we're ready for the task.
The first shots of the Civil War were fired here in South Carolina. Now, the first shots in the Republican battle for the South are being fired here in the state. South Carolina's Republican primary comes just 3 days before Super Tuesday, when 13 southern and border states pick a third of Republican convention delegates.
We're telling everyone in South Carolina to fasten your seatbelts and to get ready, because I believe that as South Carolina goes, so goes the rest of the South.
After his win in New Hampshire, George Bush appears to be in good shape here. Popular Republican Governor Carroll Campbell is behind him, and Bush's loyalty to Ronald Reagan is a big plus.
George Bush, ready on day one to be a great president.
But Bush is facing a fierce challenge here from Pat Robertson. The evangelical vote is large, strong, and devoted.
Pat Robertson believes in the Bible, and I believe in the Bible. Therefore, I know what Pat Robertson stands for.
Robertson has been working for more than a year to expand his base beyond the religious right. He's hoping a large crossover vote from Democrats will give him the edge.
We're organized in every county. We have people walking the streets, out working. They will work all day, they'll work all night. And that's what it takes to win a campaign.
Pat Robertson can win South Carolina. He's very strong in his state.
South Carolina is shaping up as a showdown state for Bush and Robertson. A stumble here would be a serious blow for Bush on Super Tuesday. This afternoon, Robertson said he's staking his whole campaign on how he does in South Carolina. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Charleston.
Sometimes I don't know what to believe. What food's good for you, what's not. But I guess I can believe reports from the National Cancer Institute. They say some studies suggest a high-fiber, low-fat diet may reduce the risk of some kinds of cancer. So I made some changes, like eating Kellogg's All-Bran. Just 1 tablespoon of All-Bran has more fiber than a whole serving of most other cereals. Am I going to change what I eat for breakfast? You better believe it.
High-fiber Kellogg's All-Bran.
Good morning. Well, it's a great day if you're in the traffic.
Introducing the all-new Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Once you've driven it, everything else is just traffic.
If you're concerned about heart disease and your doctor advises exercise, the right foods, and an aspirin a day, you should know that heart specialists recommend Ecotrin more than Bayer when they're concerned about aspirin irritation because it's safety coated. Ecotrin, the one heart specialists recommend.
Time for a quick break and one of my favorite quick snacks, Sunsweet pitted prunes. Surprised? I don't know why. They're good for you and they're delicious. Rounder, plumper, Sunsweet.
They are not names you are likely to know. Joe Silva, who is 43. Buddy Williams, 26. Linda Moritz, 27. Ron Reed, 26. Helen Lamparter, 49, Lawrence Kane, age 46, and Ron Doney, 36. The 7 were working at a defense plant called ESL Incorporated in Sunnyvale, California, when they were shot dead yesterday. John Blackstone explains why the gunman killed so far as the why in such stories is ever known.
After almost 6 hours, the gunman raised his hands and gave up his weapons, 2 rifles, 2 handguns, and boxes of ammunition, in exchange, police say, for a submarine sandwich and a diet drink. Only then was it clear how much pain he had caused, how quickly. 7 bodies were found in the hallways and staircases, apparently shot at random, as the gunman walked through the office building of the high-tech manufacturer. If there is a hero, he is Richard Townsley. He was shot when he went back into the building to try to save a wounded fellow worker.
One guy was laying on the floor. He was one up moaning. I got him into his office and closed the door. I knelt down to see if I could comfort him a little bit, and then the guy fired through the door 2 or 3 times with a shotgun. And hit me and hit the guy that was, was already on the floor.
Police say Richard Farley, a fired employee, will be charged in the killings tomorrow. One of the first victims yesterday was a woman police found wounded hiding in bushes. She was identified as Laura Black, an employee who had been resisting Farley's romantic advances for 4 years. She was seeking court protection to keep Farley away, and she and Farley were to have appeared in court today. She is in stable condition in the hospital. 3 others were wounded, and dozens more spent hours of terror. Many escaped, fearful of being shot as they made their getaway. Others searched for hiding places inside.
People in some cases had pushed out the false ceiling and had climbed into the false ceiling to get away from the gunman.
As he went through the building, the gunman shot out computer screens. He told police his intention was to destroy computers, not lives. John Blackstone, CBS News, Sunnyvale, California.
The Commerce Department today reported that housing starts in January fell to their lowest level since the end of the last recession in December 1982. The report said the 1.9% decline was compensated and concentrated in the Midwest and South, offsetting gains in the Northeast and the West. Building permits, an indicator of future activity, dropped 8.2% last month. But analysts said that falling interest rates should lead to an improved home building picture by the time of the next report.
I wonder what makes these little things crunch so loud.
Chewing them.
I knew that.
Why'd you ask?
What I meant was, how could such a big crunch fit into such a little thing?
Nature works in mysterious ways.
I think that nutty taste has gone to your head.
Here, try this one.
Gee, that crunch still stands up even though they're sitting in milk.
Wouldn't you stand up if you're sitting in milk?
Post Straight Nut Cereal, the one and only.
Americans are eating healthier than ever, or so they think. Even healthy foods may not be as healthy cooked in oil, margarine, or butter. But all-natural Pam no-stick cooking spray adds only 1/10 the fat and calories of those things and keeps food light and delicious. The choice is yours. These or all-natural Pam, because how you cook is as important as what you cook.
In Ricky Rudd's high-torque V8, clean-running Quaker State with QSX provides unbeatable protection from wear and tear.
And the oil that protects my car on the track is the same oil you buy right off the shelf.
The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. Where does it hurt?
Here.
For indigestion, heartburn, and gas, nobody does as much as Malox Plus. Dose for dose, it neutralizes more than any regular strength antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as Malox Plus.
Soviet athletes dominated the Winter Olympic Games again today in Calgary, Canada. After 5 days, the U.S. team has only 1 bronze medal. Many people complain about what they see as the unfairness of play between state-sponsored teams from communist countries and American athletes who get no government funds. Still, the Americans have some rich friends, such as a tropical tycoon who's giving an extra push to the bobsled team. Jerry Bowen has the story.
Despite sub-freezing winds biting their exposed faces, they rocket down the icy course oblivious to the elements.
The San Moritz Winter Games of 1948, the last time Americans won a gold medal in the bobsled. Ever since, foreign teams, government-subsidized teams, have been kings of the hill. But the United States has a strong presence here in Calgary, especially its four-man teams, and the mood is different. After years of scratching for funds, of sometimes having to borrow sleds to stay in competition, the U.S. team is finally back in the big time, thanks in large part
to a most unlikely benefactor.
I don't know if I'd want to call him a sugar daddy, but he's the greatest thing that's happened to us.
A tobacco company is bankrolling the Americans. An Indonesian tobacco company called the House of Sampurna, owned by one T.P. Lim. The mysterious Mr. Lim is a publicity-shy millionaire with a deep affection for all things American. An affection that extends to the high-risk, high-cost sport of bobsledding. Lim decided that daring young Americans in their sliding machines were a worthy cause, a cause worthy of $700,000.
We would refer to Mr. Lim as the patron of the United States bobsled, without question.
Lim declined to be interviewed, but in a letter to CBS News said he was especially tired of communist countries dominating the sport, said it made him mad, quote, mad that U.S. athletes, though the best in the world, had to compete with inferior equipment. Disgraceful for a country like the United States, added Mr. Lim. Chicago Bears star Willie Gault, a world-class sprinter, is a pusher for Team USA.
We're supposed to be the richest country in the world, and we have so many resources. I mean, some of these people should step up and say, I'm going to build the fastest sled in the world.
The irony of Mr. Lim's largesse has not been lost on one of the few American companies contributing technical help.
As an American, I still feel a little cringe every time I think a third world country like Indonesia is supporting a U.S. Bobsled effort.
But the money has made a big difference. Equipment, sleds, and European training trips the Americans would never have had, helping the squad toward World Cup victories.
As far as we're concerned, he's been a lifesaver to our sport of bobsledding.
We love him for loving us.
And the team would very much like to thank their Indonesian patron with something like a medal, perhaps. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Calgary.
And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. Dan Rather. See you tomorrow. Good night.
If they could see you now out on a fun ship cruise, you're eating fancy food and doing what you choose. I'd like your friends back home to get a good look at the first-rate Carnival cruise that you took. All I can say is, wow, hey, look at where you are. What a fun ship, holy cow. They'd never believe it if your friends could see you now. Take a 3, 4, or 7-day cruise on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
You know, there's nothing like a winner. That's why I'm driving this, the Advanced Big Ford Pickup. America's best-selling pickup for 11 straight years. And I got more for my money with this special model. It cost me over $800 less than a comparably equipped Chevy. And I really go for Ford's advanced features, like multi-port fuel-injected engines and anti-lock rear brakes. Yeah, Ford. If you don't go with a proven winner, what are you going with?
Now get $500 cash bonus on all new F-Series pickups with manual transmission.
It's a big game, big boy. But you got the stuff, cause you got off the ground this morning with a real winner. Wheaties, Wheaties, pure whole wheat. Now go tell your mama what the big boys eat. They can't do this to me. I have a company car, Italian office furniture, a family, and that printer delivers 4,000 misprinted invoices.
Why let a bad printing job ruin a perfectly good career? Take it to Pip.
I could lose my dental plan.
This is CBS.
And coming up on Eyewitness News tonight, more evidence that the pilot may have mishandled a chemical leak emergency aboard an American Airlines jetliner. And we'll introduce you to an artist who turns wood scraps into artwork. Plus, we'll tell why a country music contest may not be all it's cracked up to be. Those stories and more coming up next on Eyewitness News.
On the next Win, Lose, or Draw,
Cross my heart. Cross my heart. I hope to die.
Bob Denver is as hip as ever.
Hey, bro. Hey, brother, you know.
Dwayne Hickman's heard it all before.